I believe I saw Luke do this video first, and I'm totally stealing the idea. Right in front of me, I have my biggest wastes of money in the filmmaking gear space. Now, what I'm using to classify as a big waste of money, it's not that it's not necessarily good equipment or any of that, but I just don't use it as much as I thought I would. So it might have been worth to just rent it, and I feel like people are really incentivized into wasting money on gear. Number one on my list is drones. That particular drone is the DJI Air 2S, and it's a great drone. There's nothing wrong with it. The image is great. I just don't really use it that often. There are so many rules in terms of drone flying. It's kind of really a huge pain to fly. There's a bunch of rules with the FAA, but I am FAA certified, and you would think that they'd, for the most part, leave you alone. For some reason, there's always somebody coming up to me, and perhaps it's because I'm 5 feet tall little lady, so people feel comfortable coming up to me, tell me that I can't fly or that I'm spying on them or something. I lived in the state of Washington. Every national park and everywhere that you would want to fly is restricted. While I understand the restrictions and I understand why they have restrictions, it's kind of sucky because you would think that, you know, you follow the rules, you learn all the rules, they wouldn't have an issue with you flying. I've had people come up to me and yell at me even though I'm somewhere where I'm supposed to be. A lot of times clients, when they want drone stuff, they don't really plan for drone stuff. That means they don't keep in mind the weather. They don't know if they're near an airport. They don't know anything about the drone situation. They just want you to throw up the drone and do your thing. You know, you should be charging a separate rate for the drone, and I feel like sometimes clients just by default think that you'll do the drone flying for free. If I went and got drone certification, I'm doing all the work to make sure your address is good and the weather and all of this, then I should have a rate on top of that. So aside from those two reasons, people just don't really ask me for drone that often. Next is a macro lens. I bought this macro lens thinking that I would just use it way more than I do. I used it like once for some food photos and just never did again. If you're gonna focus on food photography, then it might be worth to get one. I should have probably rented one if I wanted to do macro shots one day, but literally this thing sits in a drawer and never gets whipped out ever. And there's nothing wrong with the lens, I just never use it. I don't know, I just sometimes have a hard time parting ways with things, but I should probably sell this because I never use it. Another item people love, but I just never get good use out of it, is monitors. I have owned a bunch of different monitors. Good monitors, bad monitors. This one is an Andy Cine 4K, which, I mean, it looks great, it's cheap, there's nothing like really wrong with it. I just feel like the type of shooting that I do, I never really have the time to go and set all this up, and then all it does is make my camera heavier and it's inconvenient. I would say that for maybe like 90% of the shoots that I do, maybe even more, maybe like 95% of the shoots that I do, I never whip out a monitor. And I feel like when I watch people get into filmmaking, this is one of the first things that they spend a lot of money on, and they go and they buy an Atmos, or they'll even just chuck out all the money for a small HD, and it's so much money, and I think that y'all won't use it as much as you think that you'll use it. I'm plugged into a computer from USB-C and I can see a full-size monitor over there of myself. So, I don't know. I just think that you won't really use a monitor as much as you think you will. I just use the monitor that comes with the camera and it's already set up and ready to go, and it's easier to control it. Sometimes these monitors can bug out with the settings and it's just a huge pain. So I don't know. The next one is shoulder rig. Now, I would probably spend the money on this even currently, and even using it as little as I do. And the reason is just because for certain shoots, this thing is just so awesome. It's really comfortable. I have no complaints on this thing. It's amazing quality. This is the small rig, shoulder rig. The pad is great, everything. I could have probably saved the money and not bought this, but I really like it. So this one I'll say that it was a waste of money, but kind of not really. Next is kind of on the it's on the floor, so I'm probably gonna have to like insert some footage of it, is a slider. I literally bought a slider for one particular job that asked me for a slider. I never used it ever again. The slider wasn't too expensive, so it wasn't horrible, but I have done a lot of shoots since that shoot that I bought the slider for, and I have never used it ever again. I could have probably gotten away with renting one, maybe, and saved the money. Just tried to convince the client to not do a slider shot, maybe done it on a gimbal and tried to fake it. Now, my biggest waste of money, and it's actually because the product is bad, and I'm just really upset that I spent money on it, did not return it, is the Rode mic, the Rode Go mic, like the actual lav mic that they make. This thing was $70 or $80. I can't remember. It was like somewhere in that ballpark. I don't know why it sounds so bad. In fact, I'm currently using a really cheap microphone brand from Amazon that I've been using for years, and it has actually worked really well. It's called Purple Panda, and I don't know why they sound good. Maybe I'm just a really horrible audio person, so it sounds good to me. I love every other Rode product that I've had. I've had 2 generations of the Rode Wireless Go's, and they're awesome. I've also had Rode mics. I've had a lot of Rode products, but this particular microphone is so bad. I don't know why. This whole video, you've basically been listening to the Purple Panda, but I'm gonna go ahead and unplug the Purple Panda and use this guy. I'm getting audio levels, so this is me kind of fidgeting with it, so you even get to listen to the fidgeting. And I'm gonna just put this guy on my shirt right here. There we go. So you are currently listening to the Rode microphone lav that they sell, and they advertise that you should use this with the Rode Wireless. Before you guys go ahead and do all of this that I'm showing on screen, my audio levels were pretty messed up this whole video. It's kind of me doing everything, and I can't perfectly check my levels every time. It's not a fair testament to what the Purple Panda actually sounds like. The Rode mic in different scenarios has sounded kind of weird. Could be because I was using it on the FX6, maybe the cable's messed up, I don't know, but I know in the video it doesn't do it justice. I guess my main complaint is that it sounds really loud and airy, which might be a good thing, but with my untrained non-sound person ears, it doesn't sound that good. Well, if you go and you use Audition and you just fix the levels, blah, 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 I don't want to do extra work. I'm not an audio person, so offering audio for me as a kind of one-man band type shooter is kind of like a bonus. Like, I try to keep my audio gear pretty light, and I offer audio, but I don't want to invest a ton of money in just audio because I'm not an audio person. Do you all have anything in particular that you regret buying? And what do you think about my buying regrets? I feel like on YouTube and just the filmmaker space, there's so much gas going around, which gas, if you don't know what it means gear acquisition syndrome, which, you know, just watching videos and then everybody's reviewing the latest and greatest, and then the new mics are out, and then you gotta buy them, and then you gotta buy the thing, and then you gotta buy the other thing, and it's just, it never ends. It never ends. And there's a new camera that comes out every like 6 months. There's a new camera. Every 6 months there's a new lens, and you're just sitting there and you're like, I need to buy stuff. And you don't need to buy stuff. You can probably keep it pretty basic and still produce great work.